The small cafe buzzed with the quiet chatter of customers enjoying their coffee. In a corner, an elderly woman sat alone, her hands trembling as she struggled to count her change for a simple cup of tea. Across from her, a group of teenagers snickered, whispering among themselves before one of them spoke up loudly. Maybe she should just stick to drinking water. She probably can't even afford a meal, one of them sneered, earning laughs from his friends. The woman's face fell, but she said nothing, lowering her eyes to the table. What none of them realized was that Clint Eastwood was sitting a few tables away, watching everything unfold. His sharp gaze hardened as he listened to the cruel remarks. He calmly put down his coffee, his weathered hands steady as he prepared to step in. The air in the cafe grew tense as Clint pushed back his chair and stood up, making his way toward them. The teenagers were too busy laughing to notice who was approaching. As Clint reached their table, the laughter slowly died down. His presence commanded silence. One of the teenagers, sensing the shift in atmosphere, turned around and immediately paled. "You think that's funny?" Clint asked, his voice calm but firm. His piercing gaze locked onto the boy who had made the cruel remark. The teen stammered, caught off guard. "We were just joking," he mumbled, trying to act nonchalant, but the nervousness in his voice was clear. Clint didn't buy it. He turned his attention to the elderly woman, offering her a reassuring nod before turning back to the teenagers. "That woman right there," Clint said, his voice carrying authority, "has probably been through more in her lifetime than you kids can even imagine. And you think it's okay to mock her?" The cafe was silent now. Even the staff had paused to watch the confrontation. The teenagers shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "If you think belittling others makes you look stronger, you've got a long way to go in life," Clint added. His words hit hard, and the guilt on their faces was evident. But he wasn't done yet. Clint turned to the cafe owner, who had been watching from behind the counter. "Give her whatever she wants," he said, pulling out his wallet. The owner, recognizing Clint, nodded immediately. The elderly woman's eyes widened in surprise. "Oh, no, I can't," she started, but Clint gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Ma'am, you deserve kindness. And these kids need to learn what that means." The teenagers watched in silence as Clint paid for the woman's meal. One of them, clearly ashamed, looked down at the table. Another hesitated before finally speaking. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. Clint studied him for a moment before giving a small nod. "It's not about saying sorry. It's about changing your actions," he said. The teenagers exchanged glances, embarrassment written all over their faces. The cafe staff smiled, appreciating Clint's words. The elderly woman, now holding a warm cup of tea, looked at Clint with gratitude. "Thank you, sir," she said softly. Clint gave her a reassuring smile, but he still wasn't done teaching the boys a lesson. Clint pulled up a chair and sat across from the teenagers. "Let me tell you something," he began. "I grew up in tough times. Respect was something you earned, not something you took away from others." The boys sat in silence, listening intently. "Life has a way of humbling people," Clint continued. "One day, you might be in a situation where you need kindness. And trust me, you'll remember the times you denied it to someone else." The weight of his words sank in. The teenagers, who moments ago were laughing at an old woman, now looked deeply ashamed. Clint leaned back in his chair, observing them. "What you do next matters. You can walk out of here the same people you were 5 minutes ago, or you can learn something today." The leader of the group nodded, understanding now how wrong they had been. "We get it," he admitted. "We'll be better." Clint nodded approvingly before standing up. "Good. Because the world doesn't need more cruelty, it needs more people willing to stand up for others." He turned to the elderly woman once more. "Enjoy your tea, ma'am." She smiled, eyes glistening with gratitude. As Clint made his way back to his seat, the cafe erupted into whispers. Customers who had watched the entire scene unfold exchanged looks of admiration. The teenagers, humbled, quietly discussed what had just happened. One of them even got up to approach the counter. "Can I pay for someone else's order?" he asked. The cafe owner smiled knowingly, nodding as he took the money. Clint watched from afar, satisfied that his lesson had hit home. The elderly woman sipped her tea, feeling warmth not just from the cup, but from the kindness she had just received. Clint took his seat, picking up his coffee once more, but his presence had changed the atmosphere of the cafe entirely. The teenagers left, heads held lower, but their hearts a little wiser. And as Clint took a slow sip of his coffee, he knew that this was a moment they would never forget. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon for more inspiring stories.